Good morning, Gills fans, and welcome back to Gills in the Blood TV. It's that time of the week again, pre-match press conference. Obviously they don't come much bigger than Millwall at home, especially in our current situation, obviously in desperate need of 3 points, as they are for very different reasons. So we shall crack straight on with having a look at what AD had to say this morning, and then we'll have a look ahead to tomorrow, do a little match preview, maybe some team lineup predictions and a little score predictions. But yeah, let's get straight in. Hope you're all well anyway. Back outside today for two reasons. It's lovely and sunny, nice and warm, and secondly, desperation. Basically, the last time I sat outside was 2 days before Scunthorpe, or the day before Scunthorpe, when we won that game. We haven't won since. So anyway, MK Dons, a brief overview. AD was obviously very happy with the way that the team responded to their poor first half and got back to 2-2, but stated that it meant nothing at the end because their game management was so poor and they couldn't see it out after scoring a late equaliser. He said maybe it wasn't a foul for their winner, but regardless of that, we should have dealt with a free kick better because the ref gave it massively deflated at the end. He didn't say why he didn't do the after-match interviews or anything like that. He made an interesting point, said that 3 or 4 players come in on Monday and apologise for their performances, and this probably ties in a little bit with what Cody said, that some of them weren't aware until the last few days or couple of weeks that we're in a massive relegation battle. So it's still concerning, and obviously Steve Lovell intimated that some are not trying their hardest or giving their all. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of reaction we've had this week in terms of training, etc. He said all the usual. I'm not going to go over that because quite frankly it's boring. He did say that perhaps there could have been a little bit more good luck on our part for the winner in terms of the header. Lewington loops it up in the air and it drops in. Obviously we've all had discussions this week regarding who could have or maybe should have cleared it or tried to clear it, blah 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 blah, but it's done. But he made a fair point in saying that the header could have gone anywhere, it could have gone out, could have gone in the stand, but when you're down there it doesn't, and at the end of the day, AD, you have to create your own luck. In terms of team news for tomorrow, he's confirmed that Scott Wagstaff and Bradley Garmston are both out for the rest of the season. Chris Hurd is back up and running apparently now, which he's described as a bonus, and he might be available for the Easter weekend if he comes through the next few days unscathed, but he's definitely out tomorrow. Obviously there's no Bradley Dack due to suspension. He touched on Dacky a little bit more detail, said that he's accepted the 2-week fine, the 2-week wages fine, etc, etc, and he apologised to everyone at the club on Monday for his actions. AD said obviously it's a big miss and a big shame because he's been very good recently. He did touch on something about a weight issue that Bradley had when AD and that first arrived at the club, which was a little odd because I've not heard anything from within the club anyway on that. There's a few in the ground that stand behind me that like to label him Fat Dak, etc, but it's a big shame. He's been getting back to his best, and AD again said he's over the fact that he didn't get his big money move last January, last summer, etc, etc, and it's just going to be a massive miss in terms of his creativity, etc, and getting on the ball in good areas. So yeah, so that's pretty much team news. Everyone else is available. Briefly spoke about the Josh Wright transfer speculation, said that it's great, it's not a distraction, it's wonderful for Josh that he's playing well and he's getting the recognition that he deserves, and he said long may it continue. He said it doesn't bother him. He said if it's he can't stop rumours, but as long as people are talking about Josh in terms of moving to so-called bigger and better things, it means that he's playing well and potentially scoring goals for us, so that's no bad thing. Thomas Holy was another point of debate as well. He said that he was very disappointed obviously after the MK Dons winner last Saturday, but there was plenty of others who could have helped him out. He said we've got 10 other players on a football pitch at the end of the day, it's not just up to Thomas, and he said that he'd made plenty of good saves before that, so he didn't say that he's definitely going to start tomorrow or confirm anything, but I think it's 99% certain that Thomas Holy will be in goal for tomorrow's games. More general stuff in terms of Tuesday, he said all the results were great, they went our way. Tomorrow's opponents obviously did us a favour winning at Shrewsbury. Massive game now coming up tomorrow, it's a local derby. He said they're going to be obviously imposing both on and off the pitch. They'll be loud, they'll bring plenty down, we're going to have to match that. Our fans are going to have to get behind the boys as we always do. He states he can't go on about us enough and how great we are. And then it's up to the players to go out there and match Millwall man for man and collectively and individually on the pitch when that first whistle blows. He says we deserve 3 points as supporters, we've been brilliant. Again, we took plenty up to MK Dons last week and unfortunately weren't rewarded. He knows it's going to be a tough game, but he said we've done well against the so-called bigger sides, the Sheffield Uniteds, the Bradfords, the Southends, the Scunthorpes. So he seems quite positive, but He's got to be, really, hasn't he? Bear with me 2 seconds, my notes are going everywhere. Sorry about that. Back on the thing, obviously, about Steve Lovell's comments last week and Cody's comments in the press after the defeat. He said the players have got to take responsibility. He said he's been saying that to them over and over and over again. But the biggest thing for this game tomorrow, obviously, is they've got to play the game, not the occasion. They know it's a big game, but game management has to be much better. We've got to play for 95 minutes, not 45. But it's done now, MK Dons. We can't change it, so we have to look forward. We cannot look backwards. We've got 5 massive games to rectify this horrible season. Everybody's positive. And he said they are all aware how big this game against Millwall is. So again, that goes back to the comments. And he did say that if you can't get up for a game like Gillingham v Millwall, then don't be a professional footballer. In terms of his future and Steve Lovell's and Jamie Day's and everyone else's that's in and around him at the moment, he said it's not important. He said he couldn't care less about that at the moment. He said he's got one sole focus and he's 100% behind keeping us in this division. We deserve it as a football club, as a group of players, as a group of fans, etc, etc. He's only happy when we win football matches, and he knows we've not done enough of that since he's come in. He was asked whether it was potentially the biggest period of his life connected to this football club, and he said in terms of the home games that are coming up between now and the end of the season, definitely the 3 biggest home games he's ever involved with in terms of his connection with this football club. So that's the situation we're in, we know that. The final piece that he touched on really was Keith Stroud. Obviously there was an incident at the Newcastle game in the week where Matt Ritchie's penalty it wasn't allowed to be retaken for encroachment, and there was all sorts of furore going on and discussions at the game, and thankfully Newcastle won it in the end, and it didn't make too much of a difference. But Keith Stroud's since been stood down for tomorrow's game, which I'm sure plenty of our fans are happy about, but Adi said it makes no difference. We prepare exactly the same way. We're not got no focus on the referee. It's all about us and all about focusing on Millwall and their key attributes and their threats, and then what we have to do to counter that and impose ourselves on a football match, and then try and let our quality shine through and try and win a football match. So that was everything really. There wasn't much more today that was of much importance, and I'm now going to have a look ahead to the big game in more detail. Right, we'll just have a look at the weekend edition of the Medway Messenger first. Excuse me again, caffeine. Back page of it is, it's a cracker. You see that there we go. Adi Pennock says no team talk will be needed for Lions clash. Gills head coach Adi Pennock is looking forward to a cracker on Saturday. Priestfield is expected to be packed as the Gills take on Millwall, with both sides battling at different ends of League One. It goes on to say that they're apparently bringing 2,500 down, which is great for the atmosphere, and it'd be interesting to see how many of them get into our end and into various stands that they're not meant to be. But as far as the game is concerned, it's huge, and I for one, I can't wait as much as it's been negative for pretty much all season. It's one of them, similar to the players, you have to get up for this, and it doesn't need any sort of introduction. Gills Millwall historically is a massive game going back years and years, and I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait for tomorrow to come. So obviously he just covers that on the back page as a little bit about what we've already touched on in the press conference, Daki's suspension and fine, and the fact that Scott Wagstaff, Bradley Garmston are out, but Chris Hurd might be back in light training. The shouting men this week is with our Lone Star, Joe Wiggly, man on a mission. I'll just get that there. There we go. Sorry, it's a bit windy. That's that done there. Joe goes on to talk about the Millwall game. All the lads are buzzing and aware of how big it is, and how it'd be a massive boost if we can pick up 3 points. Said he's thankful to the club for letting him come back on loan, and he wants to repay them because they deserve to be in League One, and he wants to help them stay there. But I won't go into too much detail. I'll let you find that and read it yourselves, but it's a nice little piece. The other side again is something that was in the press conference. Transfer talk on hold. Right focused on Gills' survival bid. Here we go. That's that. Obviously again, like we've already mentioned and Adi mentioned, I love it at Gillingham. I enjoy it in here and have stated that many times. That's one of the big quotes that he makes. Just have a quick look for a bit further. Obviously it talks about why he's being linked to Championship side Nottingham Forest because of his goal scoring exploits this season. Goes on, obviously Gills are up against Wright's former club Millwall this weekend, and he cannot wait. He said, that's the fixture I looked straight out for at the start of the season. We can go back to the fixture at their place last season before Christmas, when it was probably one of my most enjoyable games. We've had a couple of tough ones since. It is always a fiery game, and there is a bit of rivalry and a local derby. We know a lot of their players and they know us. It is always a game to look forward to, and what a fantastic occasion. So yeah, that's pretty much the paper summed up. So looking at Millwall and their recent form, of their last 6, they've won 2, drawn 2 and lost 2. I think the 2 wins are their last 2 games. They obviously did us a massive favour on Tuesday by going to Shrewsbury and winning, and hopefully we can thank them by beating them tomorrow. So yeah, they're obviously a little bit patchy since that Tottenham defeat in the FA Cup when they got spanked, but they turned it around in the last 2 and picked up 6 from the last 6, so they're probably coming with a bit more confidence in terms of the bigger picture. Them 2 defeats are their only defeats in the last 23 in the league, so that's the size of the task and the enormity of what we've got to do tomorrow to get something from the game, and how good we're going to have to be. Away from home, though, again slightly patchy. Shrewsbury was their only win in their last 5 away from the Den, and they failed to score in 3 of them 5 away games at Oldham, Swindon and Sheffield United. They drew a blank, so that's the positive bit we're trying to look for, obviously. But it's a derby game, and you know what I say about derby games at any level, whether you go to like the Merseyside derby, the North London derby, the Rangers Celtic, the Clasico in Spain, and Munich v Dortmund, them sort of things. Form tends to go out the window a little bit, and it'll be all about who turns up on the day. In terms of players, they've got plenty of threats. They're good all over. That's why they're vying for promotion again. Lee Gregory, 15 goals this season. Steve Morrison, 14. Aidan O'Brien, 14. They've got plenty in them. Varying options and different types of player in an attacking sense. At the back, they've got Tony Craig, who's massively experienced. They've got Byron Webster, Jake Cooper, who's come on loan, I think, from Reading. They're both huge, big units that are, you know, do the basics right. Something we could have a look at and probably learn from. Jed Wallace on loan, he's very good. Fred Onyedimna will provide pace and a threat and an outlet, I would have thought. Shane Ferguson, they've got plenty. I could probably name more. Obviously, Marlon Romeo's ex-Gills has done very well since going there. They've got one other. Obviously, Joe Martin, I'm not going to talk too much about him. So yeah, it's going to be very, very tough. Right, let's have a look at us then, just a little bit. Right, obviously we've seen the team news and who's available and who's not, etc, etc. So in terms of that and the fact that we know Bradley Dack's suspended, tomorrow I would line up as the following. If you can see that there, I'm going to try and hold it still. I hope that's gone in. There we go. I would go flat 4-4-2. Thomas Holy, I think, should retain his place in goal. I was impressed with him in the Peterborough defeat. I don't think he'd done a lot wrong after looking nervy to start with. Didn't go MK Dons, but obviously the reports I've heard is that he made plenty of good saves that kept us in the game before, obviously, what happened at the end. But I don't think that's enough to be dropping him for. No disrespect to Stuart Nelson, but he's made plenty of errors and kept his place this season. So Thomas Holy's made one minimal one. All right, you can say it's cost us the game, but again, like Adi said, there was plenty of others that could have helped him out. In front of him, I would go with a flat back 4. Ryan Jackson at right back, Zesh Raymond and Max Amar centre backs, and Deji Osalaja, unfortunately, is the square peg round hole. I would have him at left back. We have no other options, and he's probably been the best option there in terms of players that have gone in there that are out of position. Going to make a change in the middle of midfield, and this might seem a bit harsh on Mark Byrne. I'm going to go with Josh Wright next to Jake Hessenthaler. I don't think Mark Byrne's done a lot wrong in the last couple of months. He's probably been one of our better players in our recent struggles. But for me, I want to see Jake back in there. I think he's probably more aware of what this game means to Gillingham Football Club than Mark Byrne in terms of history and the fact that his dad, Andy, obviously played a massive part in some big games against the Lions. So for that reason, I'm going to put Jake in there. And again, it's another bank of 4, so from the side I'm going to go Lee Martin. Let's just play Lee Martin in his correct position. We signed him as a winger. Has he actually played there yet properly? I'm not sure. And his delivery last week for Cody's goal was decent enough, so let's hopefully we can get the ball wide and get some balls into dangerous areas. The other side, I'll go Harry Cornick. Again, wasn't at MK Dons. We've played him out of position. Let's play him from his natural position, which is as a winger. Let him get at the fullback. Let him try and push their fullbacks back and impose himself on the game moving forward. And again, if we can get balls into a dangerous area, then hopefully the 2 that I've picked up front can thrive on that and pick up some bits and pieces and score some goals. I would go with Cody McDonald. Cody's Cody. Scored a good goal last week, fed on scraps for most of the season, still into double figures. People that keep writing him off need their heads wobbling in, as far as I'm concerned. He's done half decent and led the line really well and played up front on his own, which isn't his favourite role, and he's admitted that in a poor side all season that has struggled to score goals and create much. Next to him I would go Joe Quigley. I think Joe's been unlucky in terms of criticism. He started off very well when he came back in against Southend, and he bossed them and he bossed their centre-backs, Ryan Innes and people like that. He then dropped off, but he's had a bit of a rest now, I believe. So I'd go with him as a sort of target man. He can play with his back to goal, flick-ons, hold it up, link play. Hopefully then we can get people like Josh Wright running from centre midfield, and maybe the wingers beyond the last man and beyond their defenders. So that's the reason I would go with him. Big man, little man up front. Cody's done really well in that sort of situation before, going back through the years. John Mark was a couple of years ago, almost played that target man role. Ali Bayo, Akin Fenwar, Danny Kedwell, that type of thing. So I think he'd do really well there in the two. So that would be my 11 to start with, and on the bench I would have Stuart Nelson, Mitchell Dickinson, because he can cover left back, centre back. Emmanuel Osadebe I think could give us legs if needed. He can play a variety of positions. Mark Byrne, obviously, like I say, I think he's unlucky to be dropped out, but I've given my reasons why I'd start Jake Hessenthaler. Elliot List, again, can come on, probably play either side for Lee Martin or Harry Cooley if need be, and he gives us pace and an outlet. Still very raw, and sometimes you think he doesn't know what he's doing, but if he doesn't know what he's doing, what do defenders think? So, and then Josh Parker and Rory Donnelly, obviously two strikers on the bench, so that would be my lineup. And now for the dreaded prediction. I'm going to try and be a bit positive. I'll probably do a heart and a head. Heart says that we'll be up for this, and all the players will be 100% aware of how much this means and 100% aware of what situation we're in, and for that reason they will dig out a scrappy, hard-fought 2-1 win. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet, and my head says the fact that we've lost 4 on the bounce. Millwall are a very good side, playing pretty well, and have very good players, and whether we can deal with their threats I'm not sure. So I will go head 1-0, based on the fact that they've not scored a great deal away from home in their last few. They've drawn 3 blanks in their last 5 away games. So that's it, yeah. Heart says 2-1, head says 1 each. We'll see you all tomorrow for Matchday Live. As always, please keep liking, retweeting, sharing, subscribing. And until tomorrow on the Matchday Live, up the Jewels.